Peace, 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 and welcome to the Origins of Om podcast. I'm your host, Om Maya, and I am so excited about season 2 as we kick it off with my girl, my best friend, Josie Smith, who is also going to be my co-host for the season. We have some really wonderful unfolding topics that we want to share with the listeners and get more people involved in understanding the dynamics of life and friendship and family and truth. Let's get into it. Hey, Josie.
Hey.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
How has your week been?
My week has been phenomenal. And yours?
Excellent. It's been really good. I've been just doing some self-teaching, studying, and watching myself stay consistent in the things that I want to pursue. So it feels good, you know. Um,
Awesome.
yeah. And happy belated birthday to Mother.
Oh,
That
thanks.
I want to dedicate this podcast to her today for sure.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Let's
Yeah,
set that intention.
absolutely. She's been a major impact,
Mm-hmm.
just just in spirit, really helped me to really believe and see like more into the spirit realm and know like, wow, that's a real thing going down.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Her transition has definitely taught me a lot, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to just go back real quick to the last podcast. I was listening to it as I was editing, and man, it was beautiful. I enjoyed listening back to it actually. Um,
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that stood out that I wanted to clear up, because I feel like in this now time, um, there's a lot of great delusion going on. There's people with like loads of information, but they're not really doing the work. They just have the information and they're sharing back at it, but they don't have the manifestation or the wisdom showing up in their lives that way. So it's just people talking off of what somebody else said or what they heard and believing that to be the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I always stress, and this is the purpose of the podcast, is to get people to really stop and look within themselves and find where they could correct the errors of their ways. You know, people like to think there's no such thing as this, like there's nothing wrong with me and I'm perfect and everything's right. But let's look at the root of life, which is the all is mind. Everything started from the mind. We create from the mind. And in order to get back to God, we must be one with God. Mentally, we must perceive and see the way that God sees. And you could say divine or whatever, however what makes people feel good. But it's all, there's many names to the divine, to the creator. So um in the beginning of the podcast, right, I remember you mentioned the enemy was keeping you from your gifts,
Mm-hmm.
and not even like 5 minutes in, you finally came to that realization that you had you would tell yourself you didn't want to see that. So you made that contract with God. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel, it's so important. And I think you said the same thing towards the end of the podcast. Like it's important that we are aware of how we uh, show up not only for ourselves, but for others, learning to trust ourselves and being mindful of what we say and make those deals with God. So going back in and clearing that up with God is so important now, to kind of like renounce the spell you casted on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to emphasize on that for a minute, or
Yeah, I can. I'm remembering what I said. So, yes, it took me back to a place of remembering like, "Oh, you asked to not see." And I also believe that, and I don't know, I always take the position of I really don't know, right? Like there's just so much um that I'm still learning and on my journey.
Hmm.
But what I am aware of that, there is a purpose for the reincarnation of my soul, right? In this lifetime.
Yeah.
And I am also very present to there are forces that can come against and keep you in a place of not activating in your gifts, right? So
Hmm.
it's like, of course, keep her scared, because then, like, not recognizing that I do have the power over whatever that is or whatever you would
Yeah.
call that thing. But from a child's perspective, or from a program perspective, it's just like, oh, it's something outside of me that's keeping um me from operating in my gifts or seeing certain things,
Hmm.
and not knowing that I actually had the control of the whole show. Like I'm in control of how I see things and what's showing up for me.
Yeah.
And I also am aware that, if you want to call it the enemy, and like there are energies and entities that, like, this earth, this playground is not our home, right? Like this is a
Hmm.
very dense, low vibrational place. So like we are light beings, like we were kind of dropped down into this thing. So of course, if light comes into this dense dark place, you are a threat.
Hmm.
So I was speaking to that threat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I am kind of speaking contextually. Do you get what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah, I
People
do.
listening, you get what I'm saying? So that's what I was meaning, like, growing up, because I mean I grew up Catholic, and of course Christian, and we speak of the devil and the enemy in that sense. And for me, how I have came into the awareness or the consciousness of that is
Hmm.
there are forces out there that's just like, no, let's keep you quiet, like shut up, because when you open your mouth, you become a threat to me existing, for me having
Yeah.
dominion over this place.
Yeah.
So anything to, because I also spoke about, like, for years, that thing that I saw in my friend at the time's bedroom, I always saw it as something evil. You know what I mean? Like something trying to
Hmm.
come back and get me, and what if it wasn't? It was just my perception of how I saw that. So if I can change the narrative to be like, that wasn't evil, that was actually for my good. It was like a warning, like, you're not safe here. Like you need.
Yeah.
So it puts me in a position of I'm responsible. You know what I mean? Like I can see this how I want to. If I want to see that as something evil and scary, I can
Yeah.
see that too, but that's not a place of position and power,
Mm.
which I came here with that dominion. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we're in control of how we see things. We have free will. We are
I
many
I love how you said that. You have many what?
I say we are many gods. There is the
Yeah.
big God, and we're just the manifestation of the big God into small pieces as expressions in this lifetime.
Yeah. I love how you said that. You bring light to some things that along my journey opened up for me. One of the things that I can really attest to was when I was I remember the day, it was like 2013, I want to say. This is before I had left corporate America. I was really jacked up health wise. I looked great, I worked out, but I wasn't well. And, I have 4 children. So that was really important for me to like be healthy for them. They were so little at the time. And I remember I started looking into, wanting to practice yoga and teach it, because I was like, I want something that I can build on and be able to share with my family and my friends and help. free them from their selves, physically, emotionally, mentally. I knew it ran deeper than just, moving my body and looking like I'm dancing, and looking beautiful. It was more of a breath cultivation that I wanted to experience. It was more of a attunement with myself. And
Mhm.
so I remember I had started purchasing this book called Psyche Self Defense because, the office that I worked in was very intense. When you're dealing with all women in the office, it could be really intense. And, you could take on a lot of other people's energies and issues, because, you're with them more than you are with your own family.
Mhm.
And also purchased the numerology book at the time. You remember? I still
Right.
have that book.
Mhm.
Um, I had a dream, and before I even went into the dream state, I remember that I was going through a period where what I call away with the devil.
Mhm.
I got so tired of like living in that constant paranoia, fear of the devil, the devil, the devil, and having these dreams and being freaked out of my own dream state. So I had a dream where I was walking. I was really the observer. As you come to realize in dream states, you're more of the observer. You choose to participate sometimes, but a lot of times you're not even emotionally attached in the dream. You're just interacting, but you're not really involved unless you're running from something, hugging someone, whatever, but you don't really get the sensations of the feeling as intensely as you would here in this realm.
Mhm.
And everybody's different. Everybody has different experiences when it comes to dreams. Some people dream pictures, some dream in black and white, some don't dream at all. So it's just a matter of how connected you really are to your higher self. And it was a little girl, and her parents were walking alongside her. And I remember this was back in 2013, y'all. So what's going on in today's world makes a whole lot of sense from this one dream I had. And I remember the father had these really big ears, like really like big as the size of your hand. And I was laughing at him because he was on the phone. He was busy talking business, and the little girl was annoyed because she felt like she wasn't getting enough attention from her parents. Her mom was kind of emotionally detached, just kind of being present, like just because daddy is doing all this work, she's just kind of the trophy wife. And the little girl was looking straight ahead, and straight ahead there was this prison camp full of cellars where all of these what was interpreted as zombies. There were people who had been transformed into zombies, but they also featured demonic images, right? They looked really gruesome, deformed, um, very just out of it, angry, all the emotions were there. And it
Mhm.
was literally like almost a vision of what you would see in the Matrix, where it's, all the way up beyond my vision of being able to see, and all the way down these prisons were like a straight, horizontal, I mean a vertical, type of image.
Mhm.
So I'm looking around, and I'm the child, okay, but I'm also
Mhm.
the observer. So I look around, and I look up at my father, and he's so busy on the phone. I'm pulling at him, and I'm like, I want to help these people. I want to help these people. So he's like, yeah, yeah, whatever, whatever. So I walk away, and I go and I see Morgan Freeman sitting down. And in the waking state, Morgan Freeman plays all the roles
God.
of God,
Right.
some leader.
Mhm.
Morgan Freeman been living longer than anybody's great grandmother. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
uh, so he's sitting there and he's playing the role of a wizard. And as a little girl, she's walking up to him and she's like, listen, I want to go find a cure for these people. And I want to go into the television. I want to go into Disney. I want to go into the Disney channel television set, and I want to find the cure, come back, and then relieve them. But once I do that, I'm not coming back. So I ended up, I ended up manifested as myself in the dream. I looked at her as still an observer, but I was in my mind me, or the Amaya. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, be careful what you say, because he will grant your wish and then it'll be so. And the little girl was just so frustrated with her life. She didn't want to be a part of it anymore. She wanted to get the cure and she wanted to go. Like, she wanted to do her mission and leave. And she
Mhm.
wanted to stay in the Disney television for the rest of her life.
Mm.
Interesting. So then when I mentioned to her to be careful with it, she thought about it. She was like, well, you know what? She was like, never mind. Look, I will go in there, get the cure, come back out, and I'll complete my mission here. And so that's when Morgan Freeman was like, so it is. And I woke up from that dream, just never forgetting that moment. It was so intimate. It was so intimate and so personal that it didn't make sense to me then. It makes so much sense to me now in 2022.
Mm.
With everything coming out about Disney, which I've been knowing since 2011, when I had my own personal awakening, and
Mhm.
just realizing the great suffering of people right now who live in this great denial that nothing's wrong and everything's fine and I'm full of love and joy and peace and all that, but they are still experiencing these intense dark nights of the soul because they can't identify where they're still holding on to their old self or their old ways.
Mhm.
So now they become zombies because they take on what other people are saying, they believe what they say, they do what they tell them to do, they have no sense of personal direction and no head, no head of their life, no creator of their life. They have this illusion of being, believers of God and following the principles of light, but they don't realize that they're really following these other principles of the dark side, and
Mm.
they use it in the form of light.
Mhm.
You remember, I don't know if you remember, I know we took Reiki sessions separately, but do you remember that topic that Charlene Fox, I appreciate everything she's taught us, she mentions about the light of God and the other realm of the light that others are misconstrued about.
Yeah, you mean like you want to be very careful about like really who does healing work for you and who lays their hands on you because you don't know what light they're operating in.
Mm-hmm.
Like we call in the Holy Spirit. So you're talking about from that context when she mentions,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Mhm.
Even just the trust people have with other people,
Mhm.
these doctors that they
Mhm.
believe know what they're doing when they've only
Mhm.
been indoctrinated by Rockefeller and all these other elite holders of the truth
Mhm.
to the people. That's what I like. I call them holders of the truth because they're going to tell you half truths. They're going to give you what they're going to do, and then they're going to give you the half truth, or they're going to brush it under the rug like it's nothing. And not just giving power to them in general, but the agents that work for them,
Right.
lawyers, doctors, teachers. And this isn't all doctors and teachers and stuff. But
Right.
when you are under institutions and you're learning through these institutions and not really learning from the origin or the root, or the from what it really is, then
Mhm.
you're going around and you're speaking babble and teaching people a lot of babble, and you're giving people the half truth, so when they're older they're in a state of delusion, believing something to be what it really isn't.
Right.
So it's it's really important to, and I remember on what is it, Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman 1984, where she says in the movie, uh you need to renounce your wish, reverse your wish, something like that. Like people make these commands that they want something in life, and they don't even realize that that's what holds them up in the process of them ascending and being able to move into different angles of light.
Mm,
So I really wanted to tap into learning to trust
mhm,
your gut feeling. I mean, God, especially women, it's really hard for women to trust their gut, right? Because they've
mhm,
been told, like, oh, I trust my head over my heart. And
mm,
like they have this notion that the heart is weak. The heart
mhm.
is just not activated because you're not connected to it.
Right.
You don't know what that looks like. You don't have an intimate relationship with divine mother and father. You don't have an intimate relationship in yourself to know how your body works in order to be mindful of what you put in it through the portals of the mouth, or even through the portal of the yoni.
Mhm. So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
So with people who are listening out there, like for your journey of like, I mean, because it took you a while to get to this place. How did you start to trust your gut or tap into your heart? Like, what was that thing that beckoned you? Like, I have to. I can't trust these institutions. I can't trust these doctors. I mean, you have 4 children,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, so what was that thing for you and how did you come into the knowing that, oh, I can trust myself now. I can trust my gut.
Man, it had to honestly, hmm.
Like was there a certain thing that was just like, I can't give so much authority over. Like when
I would have to say honestly, the greatest, I always say the greatest teacher as far as in my dark time with the children's father,
Mhm,
because of the fact that before I met him, you know, I was 17 and I had been studying the book of Enoch, and I was going to church and, you know, focusing on school and work. And I was really, you know, trusting myself as far as, you know, I had that strong willpower to do what I needed to do.
mhm,
Um, when I got with him, it was like, you know, I didn't have, you know, the dimensions of what I experienced. I had to practice writing what was going on in my life down, because I would forgive so quickly and
mhm,
so easily, that I wasn't trusting myself enough to listen loud enough to hear the message that was being given to me by multiple women that I looked up to, by, you know, even, you know, the preacher in the church who was,
mhm,
you know, trying to convince me to be mindful. I knew when I met the guy by looking at him. He may have known the Bible from front to back, but he had a very wolf in sheep clothing type of frequency going on. But I
mhm,
was so fogged up, I was so blocked
mm,
by the truth, that I didn't trust that to be so, and I wanted to be the Christ, the Christ, the love that, you know, that the closest thing to God that you would ever experience, right? So I wanted to wanted
mm.
to, you know how it is, you want to be the good guy, and
You
that's
want
all a form of ego, huh?
Yeah, was it something like I want to change him?
I wanted him to I wanted him to experience love, my love, and through that love he would transform, you know, automatically, right? Just like, you know, as a woman, you think you have a baby and they're going to change with him. If you have sex with him, you think he's going to change. You just think,
Mhm.
you trick yourself into
Yeah,
believing that you are power, which you are
right.
power, but you're in distortion, you're in confusion, and you're not connected to your heart or your gut.
You're not in power over another.
No, you're not. And
Mhm.
and me being so young, I believe that I, could do that. And so I had to say that it was towards the end after baby number 4, after the twins came, that I
Mhm.
really was like, listen, enough is enough. To be honest with you, even after that, that span of, 5 to 7 years, I still was fighting with identity. I was in my 20s. So I'm trying to figure out who I am, what I want, what I like. And, even though I was pursuing and entertaining, other men at times, I was not listening to my higher self. I wanted to please others. I was the, save a nigga, Captain Save a nigga.
Got it. So it was let me just make sure I understand
Yeah.
what so you had to write down things because you didn't trust your ability to make the right decisions because there was this fog and this you know illusion of like there is something I can do to actually change this situation, and you kind of wrote it down to show evidence that there is nothing I can do in this situation
It,
to
it was it
change.
was like, yeah, it was like I was
I'm
writing like,
tripping here.
yeah, like it
Go
was
ahead.
like the good things about this guy,
Mhm.
and then the bad. The
Mhm.
good always, of course, outweighed the bad, except for when I was in public, and it was always this like insecurity that will pop up. By the time we get to the house or we're even in the car, it's bringing up all this negativity about how I operate. Oh, I
Mhm.
saw you looking at this guy, or you smile too hard. Little details about myself that I'm like, dang, like
Mhm.
I'm just a cool person. I get along with anyone.
Mhm.
And I was going through that mental and emotional abuse at home.
Mhm.
So I had so much compassion, though. I had so much, just, willingness to forgive, that I would have to write down what was said to me. He
Mhm.
said that you are a bitch, you ain't shit, fuck you.
Mhm.
And, he would jump out the car, and, I'm, you know, 7 months pregnant in the middle of the road, like, bro, what the hell? That's why I don't judge. I watch what I judge about people, because I'm
Mhm.
like, I've been through a lot of dumb shit. I was the dumb bitch back in the day. And
Right.
I'm glad I went through that, because
Yeah.
if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be this strong woman this powerful woman that I am, and
Mhm.
aware of so many layers of myself, because I was able to come out of the hell. Like I remember vaguely a dream that I had, where this I was at my parents' house, and this lady called my phone, and
Mhm.
that symbolizes like a messenger is coming in.
Mhm.
There's someone's, God is speaking to you, and it's always an older woman.
Mhm.
Um I had did and I was with him at the time, and I was doing a 3-day fast.
Mhm.
And I want to say maybe like day 2 of the fast, the first dream was this woman walked into the apartment that I was in, and my not my godmother, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, was sitting at the table. We were actually The fasting was for a performance we were actually going to do at the church. I was going to do a solo, and I was going to sing Yes by, oh my God, what was the group? With Shekinah Glory.
Mhm.
And man, listen, I'll talk about that another time.
Mhm.
So so she walks in, and she looked at me, and then she turned around and was leaving out. And I said, wait, 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 where are you going? And she was like, nothing, don't worry about it. You're not gonna listen. And I was like, I am gonna listen. And she said, no, you won't.
Mm.
And so she walked away. The second or third day, a lady calls me, and she says, this is Tammy Hopkins. I've been trying to look for that name for the longest. Okay. She
Mm.
said, this is Pastor's wife, Tammy Hopkins. She was like, I just want to let you know the strong soldier is coming through hell.
Mm.
Through hell. Remember that, okay?
Mhm.
And I said, okay. And I remember hanging up, and girl, I woke up. I was like, coming through what hell? I don't want to go through no hell. Like, what hell am I gonna come through? Like, I was already about to like leave that relationship, and I was only on baby number 1.
Mm.
So So it really had me um looking at my life and how I didn't listen to any of the messages that was being sent to me. I don't care if God, God himself came down and said, girl, boop. It was
Mhm.
still that sense of compassion for someone who had lacked forgiveness, didn't really experience a lot of love in their life, according to them, because it needed to look a certain way.
Mhm.
And I didn't start trusting myself until after the last pregnancy. But this
Mhm.
is like 5, 7 years of insanity that I put
Mhm.
myself through.
Mhm.
And just to fast forward to when I really got to, and you think, you think you've cleared out some things, you think you got it, you think but it wasn't until um, I started doing healing around myself more. And I met my best friend, Scott,
Mhm.
that he really showed me the art of letting my mind go.
Mhm.
I had to have my mind split. Trauma is necessary on
Mhm.
whatever level. Um, Losing your mind is necessary because it has such a stronghold on you that you believe everything that you conceive, that you perceive. And so there's a light, there's a calcified light in the brain, which is the pineal gland, that needs to awaken and be born again. It was open as a child when you first came. You were aware of your mission before you got here, but then they injected you with poison, and the lack of knowledge from our parents, decalcified that. And so being born again and being filled with the Holy Spirit, or having the Christ consciousness, that all comes with doing a lot of work around clearing out the gut, eating consciously. Less is more. Taking in more, alkaline foods and water. It really opens you up. It really opened me up to become more in tune with my womb and self-aware with myself. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it really made me start to take better care of not only myself, but my seeds, my children. Having 4 children, automatically majority of parents are thinking about budgets and just making sure that they have food to eat. So they'll feed them mac and cheese and all this stuff, and peanut butter and jelly and all these things. And then they have to deal with the sickness that comes behind their children getting sick off of the foods that they feed them. But
Mhm.
then the parent might, and I've watched this from a lot of parents, where they might consider taking a healthy route, but they still feed their children the crap because
Mhm.
it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm willing to risk that and feed them things that, less meat, more beans, rice, vegetables, things like that, where they're able to they don't operate like wild children. They're actually a lot more conscious than the majority of the children in their environment, because we've homeschooled them for a couple of years, me and my beloved. And also, they don't have a lot of sugar in their system, so they're not cracked up all day,
Mhm.
right? Which you could see that the way that children process things are a lot slower because of all the sugars and the computers and the
Mhm.
tablets and the phones. They don't have a lot of that. They have a
Mhm.
tablet for school, and they can use that to entertain themselves here and there, but they have a time limit. So I still practice a lot of the traditional necessary things to keep them from being, because I want to communicate with my children. I don't want this disconnect. And I'm
Yeah.
already building a empire we're already trying to build an empire for them for the next generations to come. And my daughter's womb is important to be clear and to know who she is and trust herself. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, that's so good. And I'm happy that you kind of just gave a little background to it because one, like you are one of the most strongest people. I mean, this girl haven't even given y'all like not even I won't even say half because it's not even an inch, girl, like a quarter of the experiences that you've had to this point. And someone may look at you now and be like, man, she's so wise and she has so much information. But to just take it back and like the journey of like what brought me to this place, because somebody may be listening and it's just like, man, how do I get to that point? It just seems overwhelming with the information and the knowledge and the studying. And it's like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like it's really like the journey of just learning these things. But just listening to what brought you to this point and just saying that my love and my compassion that I had, even you talking about your ex-husband and the dream that you had, I saw like parallels to it. Like I saw some commonalities, like
Mm-hmm.
I want to help these monsters or whatever, these possessed people. Like I want to serve and I want to love them, and then I want to go, you know leave this
Go
place.
leave this
Yeah,
place.
leave this
I
place.
I was such honestly, I if to the listeners, seriously, when I was going through that, I used to look at the women that I looked up to and go, I want to get to that point
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
I was such a knucklehead. I say a
Yep.
knucklehead because the truth is when you really get down to what it really is, it
Mhm.
was a lot of ego
Yeah.
in wanting to look like the light.
Yeah.
Now, I was always in tune. My whole journey in life, any of the people that remember, me from high school, middle school, elementary, I was always helping people. That was my nature. My mother and my
Yeah.
father were evangelists, and they weren't really conformed to institutional churches, but they were out there literally helping the homeless, feeding the homeless, going to people's homes, casting demons out, delivering family members from possession, going to the hospitals, healing people. I mean, they really set the tone for us. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I wasn't operating in this fraud. I was so gullible to life. I wasn't really here present like that. I always saw life as I saw my family as a hologram when I was
Mhm.
young. Like I just saw things differently. And so when it came to like this man coming in my life that was giving me attention that I wasn't getting from my stepfather, not realizing that he was a replica and not like him because he was far more aggressive and wild than my stepfather. But just we tend to date our fathers, we tend to date
Mhm.
who we look up to. And
Mhm.
my real father, I always admired, even though I didn't see him a lot, I admired when I did and get a chance to be with him. He had these hands that when he would hug me or lay hands on me and pray for me all the time when he would see me, I felt this power of calmness and stillness over my body. And I always wanted that feeling, in myself naturally, and so I learned how to conjure that energy in my meditations and stuff like that later on in life. And then I knew what it was like, wow, this is the Shakti or the Holy Spirit or that feminine energy that comes in, um, and it's in union with the masculine, the divine father. So anyway, I was not always this way. I was really confused, really lost. I suffered greatly with myself, battling with trying to be the good wife, trying to
Mhm.
be the good mother, trying to be the good daughter, and really just living for other people and not living in my truth. So when it came to me doing a lot of the self healing and relieving and freeing myself from all of that bondage, I had to go back and clear that up with my ex. And it was wild because even when I would come back and say, hey, I apologize. I want to let you know I apologize for, how I showed up for you. I wasn't really being honest with who I was. It was that moment where he still struggled with his, self-esteem and everything, and was like, "Oh yeah, you finally gonna tell me you were cheating?" And
Oh,
it's
wow.
like, no.
Mhm.
I wish I had a story for you like that, but I don't.
Right, 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 right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't. I
Mhm,
wasn't like that. I was a really honest woman,
mhm.
but at the end of the day, I wasn't being real with myself, and that's worse because
Yeah.
I'm living for you, trying to look good, and I'm willing to hold my head down in public so that you don't think I'm looking at somebody, and I'm
Mhm,
willing to, you know, um, keep myself wear certain clothes for you so you don't think I'm trying to show my body off to, another man, and just all this crazy shit that was
right.
just it was just like prison. I put
Yeah.
myself through it, you know what I mean?
Mhm. That's so good that you were able to recognize, like, I put myself through this because you had that awareness of, like, something's not right here. But being
Yeah.
in ego, wanting to do or see whatever you wanted to see, it kept you in that place. But it also brought you so to the depths of discomfort and pain and all those things that it was just like, it has to be something better than this shit. Like, it
Oh
has to be
yeah.
a different way. And that kind of led you to trusting your gut and coming out of the fog and the
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. I I have so much, I know that's why I can be with people now,
Mhm.
and specifically with women,
Mhm.
and have a level of patience that most people would be like, "Girl, why you still talk to her?" Because
Right. Right, right. You
because
definitely do.
I went through it in my younger years, which whew, I much rather have went through it in my younger years. I'm sure. Like I know I set this up for myself because
Mhm.
as an adult, and especially in this time, this moment,
Yeah. It's like, girl, you don't
oh,
have time for that foolishness.
I'd be an aggressive masculine woman. Like the
Mhm.
tables turn now, right? The
Mhm.
psychology now is the men are chasing the women. And the
Right.
words that come out of the women's mouth, it just goes to show you the form, the form of people as a woman or a man doesn't even matter. It's the psychology
Mhm.
that is trade. It's like trading places.
Yeah.
Now the women are talking to men like, yeah, I got a little something at home, but we can, and they think it's
Mhm.
cute.
Right.
And the truth is they're hurt.
Yeah.
They're angry. They're confused. I remember when I was in, we were heading to church. Okay. I'm listening to, gospel music, and I'm in the car. I was younger at the time, and he's talking to me crazy, cursing me out, saying some wild stuff. And at that time, this was before I started allowing myself to really be aggressive. Because what happens is, and I'm just speaking from my experience and what I know now women have done, so I know we're all in the collective in this moment. When a man is aggressive with you, right? And you're
Mhm.
that very meek, or very humble woman, your response in a humble, loving way just only makes them feel more aggressive and louder, and want to overpower you. And
Mhm.
so one day he was looking at me, he was like, I don't get it. He's like, why don't you argue back with me? Like, why don't you get angry with me? It's like it almost feels like you don't really care, like you don't really love me. That word used to trigger me
Mhm.
because I'm like, oh, I am love, I'm God's love, I am love. Well, what does love look like? Love, I thought love was a sacrifice, and
Mm.
and not in the sacrifice that we are doing now, when we take that time to let go of the fear of missing out of the world. It was
Right.
more of like, I don't want to miss out on the world, and I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Let me let me be a sacrifice and rebel against whatever my family's wishes are and what other people say, because I am love and I'm going to show this love.
Mm,
And so what happened was, as the arguments got more aggressive and louder, I started to become more aggressive and louder. I started channeling what he was putting out.
mm,
And this is where a lot of women now are very, and they're masculine because they're protecting themselves. They feel like the feminine uh energy is weakness, and it's
mm.
not.
Oh, that's a word. That is. That was a lesson for me. Go ahead.
The feminine, listen, I've learned to fight with love. I learned to
Yeah.
fight. The greatest fight I ever won was with my heart, and I do it in a way where I know how to use it in a tough form, where I'm not killing you, but I'm gonna let you know the truth and you're gonna feel it in your soul.
Mm,
I'm going for your heart. I'm going into the heart. That's it. I'm going into the heart. I'm pulling whatever is in your gut out and relieving you from whatever stress and tension you got going on, so that we can make peace in this environment. But we're not
mhm,
going to go in the head, in that place of, oh, what would Jesus do? Or
mm,
what would my brother who's crazy do? What would my sister do? What would Cardi B do? What would Beyonce do? What would so and so do? No, because what happens is, you fighting fire with fire, you about to cause a goddamn storm of fire. You're about to cause a
mhm.
forest fire.
That's
Now
some
you can't come back from the shit you said.
girl.
Now you can't, now you done made it so ugly. You done became so ugly to the
Yes.
man
Mm,
that he don't know how to see you, because he done saw the worst of you now. He like, you the woman that's causing all the hell in the house. And he's like, I'm just trying to find myself too. But this is the way that I've been taught to express myself, because I was taught to be strong, and
mhm,
you're being strong. Now you remind me of my mom and my daddy and how they used to treat me. And then now y'all got this dysfunctional relationship in the household.
mm,
You rising up, he rising up. Then you taking another step, you pulling out a knife, or you threaten to go, have sex with somebody else, or whatever intense fear you use to project on somebody, on your partner, out of thinking that the feminine energy, the natural response of the woman in love, is a weakness,
mhm,
instead of, the minute that you identify or recognize a man that's being aggressive, or being using his words against you in some powerful way, instead of you taking that and saying, you know what, I don't like the way this makes me feel, because it's taking me to a place that I know is going to make me uncomfortable. I'm going to feel unhealthy. I'm not going to feel well emotionally and mentally. It takes me out of harmony with God. I'm going to remove myself. I'm not afraid to lose something, right?
mhm,
Because I know that it's not serving my highest good. I'm going to take it on. I'm going to go to war with it, because I think I can actually change him. If I just go on his level, maybe he'll humble up and then I'll be the dominant one. And then what the fuck? Like, what fun is that?
this so this is such a great conversation, and we've hit so many different things in this one little piece. And I'm like, damn it, we're coming up on an hour, and I'm like, we
It
got to
don't
break
even
this.
matter. Let the
Right,
spirit move.
we're gonna have to take this to another conversation, because it just you brought out so many good topics about like that feminine energy, relating to it as a weakness. And that's something I had to learn inside of my relationship and my journey as well. And how being in a relationship with another person is like your biggest teacher, like the highest teacher, because it really just shows you like, oh, ooh, that little ugly. I got that in me. Oh, I said that. I did that. And it brought me to what we spoke about at the beginning about the enemy, because there, like in situations where there's a challenge and there's conflict, it's that little, like, somebody's coming at you, talking to you crazy, your partner, and it's this little thing inside of you that's just like boiling up, like, I'm about to let this mf have it, like
Mm-hmm.
you are not going to. And it's just like, but that that aggression comes out, and like you say, it can get to a point of no return. Now you done said something that you can't take back. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you just expose something that, I was listening to TD Jakes the other day, and he said the right communication at the wrong time can cause so much disruption. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what I'm saying is truth, but if you don't know how to have the wisdom in which how to say it with compassion, or the timing in which you need to have that conversation, can
Mm-hmm.
cause so much destruction.
Yeah.
So, like I've had to like disarm and really seep into my heart space inside of conflict, because it's just like something is beckoning this nasty part of me that I can't let this overtake me, because this is going to go to a place of no return. It's not going to be good, and I just don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And it's a good awareness that, god damn it, I am that person. Like, that's there too.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is in me, and I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do want to speak on like that feminine energy and what is being submissive, and what, like, because I just, it's all being twisted and turned into something like you're weak. You know what I mean? Like submissive. And I've had to have that conversation myself, and just really take on like, what does that look like from an empowering context, not from I'm a weak woman, or I have to be a certain way. So that was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I feel that when you I like to say, when you tame the
Hmm.
beast will get louder.
Right.
um we were always taught in church, that we were born in sin, and we needed to live this righteous life, and that when we commit a sin, you repent and you correct your ways.
Hmm.
But a lot of people are in these environments where they're perfected, or believing that they're perfecting themselves, and they abuse the lower self as something wrong or something bad or something weak. They want to, don't have sex, don't do this, don't do that, don't, and they're not living according to nature's law, according to the natural law. If you actually observe animals, and you observe plants and how things grow, how things manifest and move from a microcosmic aspect all the way to the macro, then you see that we are one in the, we all are part of the same thing. And so a woman's power can make or break a man.
Hmm.
And it is so important that you get back to connecting to the womb. And I'm not talking about freaking yoni steams and yoni eggs. That's tools like holding a crystal in your hand that you make real and manifest according to what you project in your from your mind to that object.
Hmm.
But to spend time in the spirit with yourself, and sit and maybe holding your belly and massaging your belly. I used to, and just whatever, I used to actually tell people, like, listen, go in the mirror naked and just rub all over your body and
Hmm.
tell yourself that you love yourself. This isn't about being sexual with yourself. The thing is that we're in a now time space where, even through history, we've taken the feminine mother, divine mother energy, and we've perverted her. We don't see her as mother, as a nurturer, as a caretaker. A lot of times you see her in a very sexualized way, or she's full of errors, or she's not perfect. And this is why things are happening in the world the way that they are right now. This is why, if you listen to any song in the mainstream media, they're always promoting from a lower chakra aspect, because there's these two mothers, right? Just like, mother, father, whatever, or two of everything, right? God, the devil, whatever, all this. So there's this perception of the Lilith and the Eve that exists. And what you have to understand is there's so many facets of ways of perceiving this realm, where you got to get very clear of what it is that you're looking at and what it is that you are doing and how you're performing. If you are in that I gotta survive type of frequency, you're living more in your root chakra. If you're struggling in your digestion and you're always in that story about not being able to lose weight, or you're always constipated or whatever, and you have all these health issues and all this stuff, you're definitely not you're not operating from a heart chakra perspective. You're not living in your heart, because in the heart, when you finally ascend consciously into the heart chakra, or just in the heart awareness, and this is something that I want to definitely do a session on one day on the podcast, just to get people to drop in, and you could do it now if you like. There's no judgment there. If you breathe right in the center of your heart right now, relax your belly, relax your shoulders, relax your body, wherever you're sitting, just relax. Even when I'm driving, I do this. I consciously drop my thoughts into my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is there's not much going on there. Mm-hmm. There's no judgment. There's no, I need to go do this thing, or I'm ready to eat this or have this or whatever, or how do I need to respond to this conflict or whatever. It's stillness there. When you make it to that center point, then you start gaining the confidence, because now you're connecting to the source energy. You start being more loving towards your body, to yourself. You take care of yourself, what you eat, what you think, what you say, trusting that first instinct when it comes in, even though you might be used to the practice of going and calling a friend, or looking on social media for advice, or looking at television for advice. You stop going outside of yourself and start saying, no, you know what? I'm lacking the relationship of asking first within myself for the answers. And I want to share this with you, because I know we could go all day. I want to share this with you, being that I dedicated this to mother, to your beautiful mother, because she came to me when I was back in Florida in that beautiful yellow home. Mm-hmm. And it shocked the crap out of me, because I was channeling into my ancestor just naturally. My great grandmother Rozelle showed up, and I've never met her in my life, but she lives in me. And my great grandmother also came in, and then I remember your mother showing up. And one of the things that just revealed itself was fire. Mm. That fire, that phoenix, that power of trusting yourself, trust that first mind, go for it, stop questioning. And I don't know if that's me relaying that to you.
Yeah, that's good.
But you are no longer a baby.
Yeah.
You are being cut from the cord. Mother, divine mother, right, is shaking people off right now, off the earth. And she's cutting cords with people, because it's like, it's time for you to take on what I've taught you, and trust yourself to go out there, like the hero's journey, go out there like the prodigal son. Go out there and do the opposite of what the world is telling you to do, what you're called to do, so you could come back and you can light the world up like I'm doing right now. Beautiful. But you got to trust yourself. No more second guessing, and allow yourself to soften up. This is for everyone. Allow yourself to be the better person. And this isn't about turning the other cheek, but like, what has being aggressive done for you? How is it serving you? What are you gaining from holding that tight belly and holding that hard heart? Delusion.
Mm-hmm.
You're just restricting all these knots in your body, and then you're the only thing that's staying activated is the brain, and that brain is overstimulated, and now you're taking drugs, or now you're drinking, or now you're finding gateways to come out of what you really need to be looking at, which is yourself.
Right.
And I'm gonna leave it there.
That's good. That is so good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that word.
Yeah, absolutely. um as we wrap up though, is there anything else you want to drop in on anyone before we make
Um,
our peace?
yeah. No, I just kind of wrote down some little nuggets that you dropped that of how what you did to get to the point of really just trusting your gut. And you mentioned like you got in touch with your body. You started to move and get healthy by doing yoga, which
Hmm.
got you really into feeling your body. You
Yeah.
changed your diet, which is very, very important because what you put in your body, you know what I mean? It manifests itself and comes out through our thoughts and all of those things.
Hmm.
And you mentioned that you fasted. So
Yeah.
you really just disconnected and you just cleaned out your temple so you
I,
could hear clearly.
yeah, I did a lot of during 2020 during lockdown. I did a lot of that more intensely. Like I intensely was taking certain um gut flushing supplements, and I was
Mhm,
drinking herb teas and stuff like that. I kept telling my beloved now that I was killing the parasites, because
mhm.
I'd realized those parasites were what we call those demons that we have
Yeah.
in us. Those are your influencers. When you
Mhm,
study Hermetica, you learn about the microcosmic aspect of existence in the temple of your soul, man, right?
mhm,
And I remember when I finally like really did a whole month cleanse, and I
mhm,
was juicing and everything else. Oh my God. I was like a child again. My memory was so sharp. I
mhm,
could see and remember everything from when I was younger. Everything made sense. The days were brighter. Like the streets were gold. Like
mhm.
it was like a new heaven on earth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't realize that you are the only one that can free yourself, and you have to take that moment and discipline yourself and say, I'm tired of being the same old. I'm tired of letting my day run me. I run my day,
Mhm,
and I am going to choose the day every day, even when my body is like, I don't want to do it. I'm going to do it because I know that when I'm done, I'm going to be so relieved and so happy and so open and so energized. Like I mean, it's like a new form of yourself, the new spirit drops in and says, I'm gonna take over now, because the old you, and that's the part where you're crying and you're afraid of losing, is the old identity of self. But you gotta lose yourself.
yeah.
You gotta lose the name that is not even real.
Yes, that was the last thing I was going to end on. Allow yourself to let your mind go. Lose
Hmm.
your mind.
Yes.
Mhm.
Lose your mind.
That's good.
Well, it has been a great sitting with you and everyone that's listening.
Absolutely.
You already know, until next time.
Peace, peace.
Peace, peace, peace. Later.
Later.